Good morning and welcome to today's Trading European Open live here at the Live Trade Room. Now today is Monday the 22nd of October. So let me explain to you what you can expect over the course of this session. We're professional traders trading with live capital every day. So every decision we make obviously has a potential gain or a loss for us. So that's a really important part of the whole learning curve for new and inexperienced traders, and in fact traders of all experience levels. And what we're looking to do is to identify high probability trading opportunities, and we want to execute our trades with a high degree of consistency, and we'll talk you through that whole process as we're doing it. Then we need to manage with a high degree of discipline, and really what we look to do is to cut our losers short as quickly as we can. If they're not performing as we would like them to, then we're very happy to let that trade go and continue to look for these high probability trading opportunities, because we'll always get that other chance. But if you manage your downside risk with a high degree of discipline, it does give you longevity, and it gives you that opportunity to learn exactly what this profession is all about. So that's what you can expect, with a view to cut our losers short, let our winners run, and look to generate consistent returns on a regular basis. So that's just a very, very brief intro. So just before we begin, if we could start, as we always do, with our risk warning, please of course do familiarize yourself with the risk warning currently up on screen. And what we'll do now is, before we just go into the charts, it's important to have or to be familiar with the news flow for the trading days. So for this, we're going to get up Forex Factory, and I'll slide that straight up on the screen for you. And as we scroll through, you can see that we don't really have an awful lot to deal with today. I suppose later on this evening we have the RBA. One of the central bankers, the assistant governor, due to speak. Potentially can be volatile when bankers speak to these markets. But as you can see, it's nothing of any major significance. So only really of any importance if you happen to be trading the Aussie dollar. So do be mindful of that. Just want to click through the remaining week. We have a number of central bankers and a couple of central bank decisions this week. Monday, Tuesday, nothing of any major concern. Now Wednesday, we have some major decisions made by the central bank, the Bank of Canada. So we have the monetary report, we have their statement and the overnight rate. And if you can, I want to draw your attention here to the current rate of interest rate increases. So for the since July 2017, so just over a year and a quarter effectively, we've been on this steady rate increase, very much in line with the Fed, and we're now expecting another 25 basis point increase from 150 to 175, and as you can see, that will have been the highest interest rate for the bank going back to December 2008. So most of these global central banks have been, certainly the majors, have been obviously keeping rates really low for a really prolonged period of time. And now, off the back of Fed decision making, a lot of these central banks are looking to push their interest rates higher, and the central bank is one of those. So 25 basis point increase, which is a significant increase, is expected on Wednesday, so that has the potential to impact the CAD. So it'll be interesting to see on the short term what the Canadian dollar will be doing in the build up to that news event. It'd be worth keeping an eye on. Same situation for the crude oil inventories. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. And then we'll have the press conference from the BOC at 4:15, just a little bit after the rate statement. So a lot of Canadian news on Wednesday. Thursday is all about the ECB effectively. So we'll have the main financing rate are expected to be kept at 0%. The ECB press conference we will be having Draghi speaking to the markets. Very volatile period. So Thursday afternoon has the potential to be very significant. And as we finish the week, we're going to finish the week on an advanced GDP figure coming out of the US. And just let you know, I mean, GDP has been performing particularly well since 2010. This all adds to the overall impression of kind of dollar strength and a functioning and very well performing US. Now, the last time we had a significantly positive performance on a GDP basis, very much in line with expectations. Now we're approaching very less, but it is a quarterly figure, and still 3.3 would be a very good performance. So with a slight kind of uptick really in GDP, certainly over the last 3 years, let's say, going back to these times here. So now we look like we're just moving to the upside. As you can see, I suppose it'll be important as well. We have Draghi speaking Friday afternoon in the inauguration, where he's delivering a speech basically at the National Bank of Belgium in Brussels. So we'll have to wait and see in terms of how volatile that will be, but that will be finishing the week with an eye on the euro. And I suppose it's important to know that next weekend time will be shifting. So the clocks will be going back for the Eurozone, the pound and the Swiss franc as well. Okay, so that's just a brief run through of the news events for the week, just to give you a bit of a heads up. So now we'll get up our trading charts, and what we do every Monday morning is to just get a handle in terms of what's been happening with these markets and make sure that we have a plan of action really for us to get in and out of these markets. So starting with the euro dollar, there's a slight bearish bias to this market, but as you can see, we're seeing a few rejections to the downside now. So we're getting a bit of buying coming in, and this is on a weekly time frame. So so looking at this chart, we've now broken above last Friday's high, which is quite significant. And really, this, technically speaking, is a double bottom. So we could easily have prices squeezing back up to the low 16s. So it definitely represents a little bit of value in this market to the upside. So we'll come back to this and we'll look at the euro dollar in a little bit more. So we've literally over the last hour and a half just seen a really strong explosive move to the upside. Now we want to see if this market can pull back, and if it does, and if it can pull back something in and around the 1534, which is only sort of 10 pips away, then we're very likely to get an opportunity to get into this market to the upside. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Slightly similar situation. Certainly the dollar seems to be opening a little bit on the weaker side for most of these major pairs. Similar situation. I mean, this is on a weekly time frame, and we're looking at the British pound, and you can see 5-6 weeks of effectively very choppy sideways moving market. So that just means we have not we've not been able to see any clear directional move in this market. I mean, it's not really surprising with the EU Economic Summit. We've been breaking lower and we've been rejecting those lows. We've been breaking higher and we've been rejecting these highs on all of these occasions. And this is on a weekly time frame. But what we've been seeing for 6 weeks now is just this market moving sideways. So if you want to understand the market conditions for the pound dollar, we have been moving sideways with false impulses pushing higher and false breakouts to the downside and to the upside. So the tricky market might still give us some good opportunities, but for now it is a little bit on the tricky side when we look at the weekly time frame, and it's not really that much clearer, is it, when you look at this on a daily time frame. Slightly sort of bearish view to this, like there's a bit of potential sort of, you know, this kind of movement potentially pushing lower, but today's market now is just squeezing higher, so we could easily get a little bounce back to the 31.95. So a little bit of indecision really for the pound dollar. I suppose the interesting level for us would be the 3100. If we could break above that, then that would be quite interesting to look at. So we'll focus on the euro dollar for now, because it's just giving us the better quality setup. Now, if we start seeing some strength come into the dollar, then we'd be primed for to see the dollar yen start squeezing higher, and that would mean that the US equities would also be pushing to the upside as well. So that's what we've had. We've had the market actually gap lower, reverse that gap, and actually look quite strong so far today. So that's so if the US equities are pushing higher, we'll often see a bit of a sell-off in the yen, and that's what this price action would represent. We're currently in this market to the upside on our daily time frame, so we can certainly add this market for some dollar strength certainly if the US equities continue higher as well. So one to look for. Dollar Swiss, we do have parity just above these highs, so it would need to negotiate that significantly before we probably look for opportunities to buy this market. Could easily do with a bit of a correction, a bit of a natural pullback before we get the next move. So maybe it's in our interest to just keep an eye on this price action and perhaps not be too hasty getting into it. The dollar CAD, obviously we have major news on Wednesday regarding the CAD, so that's worth keeping an eye on. Yeah, so so today we're currently getting a bit of a pullback. If we got to break above the 31.31 level, which is the weekly high, then we're very likely to see some strong continuation to the upside. But we'd need obviously some dollar strength to be coming into this marketplace. So again, getting a bit of selling coming in off this high. Nothing really to work with just yet. There's a lot of potential support just below these prices, so we still might have a little bit of volatility left in the dollar CAD. And just to clarify, we'd be looking more so for opportunities for the dollar to strengthen against the CAD, not so much weaken, like selling. Once we've had this breakout to the upside, you know, we're not really looking for an opportunity to sell this market just yet. Aussie dollar bouncing off these lows, as you can see in here. I'll just delete that one. And we're just hanging around these kind of levels here as we speak. So still with a strong bias to the downside, but a little bit of buying coming in already in today's trading. So could very well bounce off the lows and then perhaps even create a structural high, which would just be above this high in here, the 71.58 levels. So there's our low, bounce back to this level, try to attempt a new low and just fail. And let's see how price interacts about here, because this could be the level at which we get the next move lower as well. So we want to be conscious of the descending level, like we did back here. Look for really strong opportunities to sell this market, and that's what we were able to get into. Good morning, Connor. Hope you had a good weekend. Are you trading anything today, Connor? Anything you're looking at? Perhaps you'd let us know. Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, similar situation really, but this market has kind of gapped just marginally to the upside and is now, well, threatening to just roll over. But just this is a better way to see it. there's potential for resistance in and around these levels, just potentially pushing this market lower. Euro pound, we're getting a bit of a bounce off these lows. So we've got the 88.33 level, which is the euro pound, and the last couple of trading days have been sort of quite choppy, really, and sort of pulling back a little bit. We are in a really prolonged period of consolidation, so not overly surprised really to get some sort of indecision on this. A break above the weekly high, the 88.32. There is resistance just above it, potentially pushing this price lower, but a breakout above the 88.32 level does absolutely contribute a structural break to the upside. So that's an interesting level. Might get a bit of short-term rally at these lows. So really, with all the Brexit negotiations as well, there's probably better opportunities to focus our time on. Moving on to the pound yen, bit of strength coming in today. You can see the price action. We've had a strong pullback, and then we had a really strong sort of sell-off one week. Last week we didn't really get that much follow through. We did for a period and then a strong reversal, but all in all, it's very much an indecisive candlestick. So a bit more potential, upside needed probably for us to get in, and certainly above the 149.100 would be a bit of a change in fortune for the pound yen. So we're attempting to squeeze lower all the time, but we keep getting these little strong pullback trades. So again, the indecision is a bit difficult to work your way through it. A bit of strength coming in today now into the pound against the yen. So today there might be some yen opportunities in the pipeline. So we do have this descending level just kicking in here, but we've had a bit of a strong breakout above that level and a pullback to these lows. So there's an argument to suggest that perhaps the weekly high, the 130.29 level, which we're not too far away, could be the next level of resistance. So if we break above that, it might be worth getting involved in this market to the upside. So we can certainly have a look at this market as well. Moving on to the gold, we've had sort of 3 weeks now of a bit of bullish price action in the gold market. It's not certainly seeing the sentiment that you would kind of expect after a long period of consolidation. It's probably easier to see it on a daily time frame. So we did move sideways from mid-August to mid-October. So you're talking about sort of 8-9 weeks, and then we've had one really strong positive day to the upside and not much follow through to the upside. But what this is creating is a bit of a floor, certainly above the 12.16 level, to potentially support the next leg to the upside. So it's really looking for opportunities to buy this market, and the 12.33 level is I suppose the high probability level. So if we get a break above that, we're likely to really start seeing some good strong moves to the upside in the gold market. So again, some other markets that we can certainly focus on. Interesting bit of price action potentially setting up in the oil markets. We've been looking for opportunities to sell, and perhaps time will tell whether that should prevail. But what we're seeing now is the market potentially look for a bit of a pullback trade. So we had a couple of good trades last week in the oil market to the downside. Yes, this market is very likely to roll over, and when we do have that indecisive price action, or we see we get an opportunity to sell, we'll look to take it. But also above the 69.89 level, we might see a short-term move to the upside in this. And I suppose the major reason for that is that this high in here has the potential to just be oops. So this kind of low in here has the potential to support price to push higher. So that's the only reason why this trade idea could potentially even stack up above the 69.89 level. And we do have the 70 just above it, so perhaps a couple of markets to look at, but not necessarily get too heavy with these markets. Okay, so just realigning a couple of these now. Okay, so that's the weekly. So strong pullback off the highs, and maybe an opportunity to get into a bit of a strengthening market. Again, kind of the high probability level for us would be above this high in here, the 8100. So there is a bit of more movement. So I think it's probably fair to say that the US oil, if we get a break above the 69.87, could be the better quality trade to the upside. If we start seeing now some bit of a bullish bounce back off these lows. Another interesting set of markets is the US equities, looking a bit on the strong side today, although we have broken lower. As you can see, we've opened this market a little bit on the lower side, but a lot of that we've attempted to push lower, and then a lot of that has now reversed, and we can see the same price action across the US equity space. So what that is likely to do is to support our yen trade to the upside, so the dollar yen to the upside. So you could either look to trade the more expensive US equities to the upside and see continuation, or you could look at the more affordable dollar yen and expect that to continue to the upside. And the reason for that is very much risk on, risk off. So if we start seeing price action move to the upside, then it's in a risk on state, and that just means that there's capital flowing into it. So we're likely to see these prices push higher. And if there's capital flowing into a risky asset class like the US indices, then it's likely to come out of safer risk off markets like the yen. So that's why that correlation exists, and we're likely to see this market continue to squeeze higher. And if that's the case, we're likely to see the dollar yen pushing higher as well. So the US equities in a bit of a move to the upside. Potentially as well, the FTSE could get a little bit of a bounce, but the level we're looking for is the 70.93. We want to see this market break above this, because this is horrible price action really for the last 2 weeks. So we've had a strong move to the downside and then some consolidation. So it'll be interesting to see what is next for this market. So that is the UK 100, and then finally the Euro stock, which is exactly in the same situation as the FTSE. We've even gapped to the upside a little bit, but very much indecisive, erratic price action. So we really don't really want to get involved in these just yet. And we are in the midst of earnings season. We've got a lot of political, geopolitical risks. We've got the midterm elections in the US providing a little bit of instability as well, probably over the next month, and we've got Brexit negotiations, we've got issues with Saudi Arabia and Iran, sanctions, US sanctions with Iran, and the impact that's having on the oil prices, global trade wars between China and the US. So there's a lot of tailwinds in these markets at the moment. I suppose that's double-edged. It can actually give us some fantastic opportunities, but it can also give us quite volatile, erratic market conditions as well. So we have to take the rough with the smooth. So so we like, there's a few markets that we really like the look of then. So we can keep an eye on, it was the US oil market, so we'll definitely keep an eye on this. And we'll also keep an eye on the S&P as well. So so let's get these markets up on screen so we can look at them together. So the S&P we can put bottom right hand corner. In fact, it might be better off just looking at this on a daily time frame. We might come back to that in just a second, actually. So the other market, the US oil, we'll have a look at top left. So we'll come back to that shortly. The euro yen. Seeing a little bit of a pullback off those highs, and the last couple of markets really is the dollar yen. And the euro dollar. Now of course, if we look at the euro dollar, and if there's strength coming into the euro, then what it might do is give us an opportunity in the euro yen more so than the dollar yen. So we can be quite flexible with these trades depending on what's going on with the euro yen. So that's why it's kind of worth looking at the euro dollar to see which market is stronger, because when you trade foreign exchange, you're looking for strength versus weakness, and if for the session the euro is stronger than the dollar, then with the bit of the weakness that we're seeing because of the US equity space, let me get rid of a few of these. These are, a lot of these levels are intraday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want to change this to just our red color because that is a weekly low. So that's sitting in there. And we'll just take note of that high, just to record that high, the 27.78. So we can look to get into potentially a yen move if we can get that opportunity, and US oil as well. Yeah, I see. So you're just about to look through it now, Connor, are you? Okay. You're looking at the dollar pairs and New Zealand pairs, and you think from a quick look through on your phone. Yeah, I did have a very, very good weekend, thanks. Got a family wedding next weekend, so really it's sort of lots of activity around that next weekend. So a lot of organising to be done, but yeah, no, it should be a good wedding. So yeah, this is our this is our trade plan for the session. So we're looking at the euro dollar, maybe even potentially we might be looking to get into the euro dollar and the euro yen if both of these have the potential to push a little bit higher. So let's go into these markets then, and we'll see what the trade is, what we're looking to do. So what we're looking for is this market to just pull back, give us an opportunity to just take this further to the upside. So for the remainder of the trading day, this market has every potential to continue higher. And which level do we want it to pull back to? Somewhere in around the 1534 is precisely the level. 1533. So if we can get a pullback to that point, then we can look to get into the euro. So that one hopefully is fairly straightforward. So we're now back at this weekly high. So definitely with some scope for this market to push higher. Yeah, so we are at the right spot. So let's zoom in. So we can take note of this low, and I'll just change these levels now again so that you're not too confused. So we take that low, take this high, and the weekly level is the price that this price is straddling. There's only an 8 pip range between this level, so if this market moves sideways and then effectively breaks above the 112.76, then you absolutely have a strong level to place your stop loss below the 112.68. So it would make it a fairly concise trade. So let's see how this market behaves. So we want to try and be a little bit patient with it. So really a breakout trade above the 112.76 could give us a push up to the 113, potentially something like that. And the euro yen. So let's have a look at this in the daily time frame. Remind ourselves how and why we're interested in this trade. Now, potentially the initial trade was back at the 129.72. We obviously missed that because that was during the Asian session where we're not trading these markets. Yeah, no worries, Connor. We will be live at 9 o'clock through the live trade room. So see you in a little bit. Okay, so euro yen, potentially the important level for us is the 130.29. We're not too far away from that, but perhaps no point getting into that too early. So what we want to do is be able to. So what we're trying to avoid is this market basically getting up to these levels and then, turning around. So that's why we want to see this market, see if it can break above this level, create a bit of a structure, and then for us to get into this market to the upside. So it's important to note we have had a strong move from the 129.72, which was our high probability trade to the upside. So it's a significant move. It's a 40-50 pip move, so it needs to be almost respected. And if this market was able to bounce back to the 129.72, then that would be our natural level to sort of pull back and see if you can capitalize on this market pushing higher. So that's the euro yen. So you can see that these markets are slightly in different stages. So So US oil is the next one. So let's go in and have a look at this on a daily time frame. Yeah, so it's really the 69.87 that would give us the good opportunity. So it is up at these highs. Just want to see how accurate that level is. It's pretty accurate. So the 69.88. So we'd want to see this price break above that, otherwise it can become a little bit of a level of resistance, preventing prices from pushing higher, and we could actually get a strong flush lower. So I suppose especially with the oil markets, which have had such a strong move lower, and the S&P is just worth monitoring, just this high in here. And we've had a nice steady sort of increase to the upside. Will we pull back and sort of cover this low and then make moves? It'll be interesting to see anyway. But since the market's open, it's just been grinding to the upside. So the trade idea is quite straightforward. It's just continuation to the upside off this low. So looking at this level as a kind of a double bottom and seeing if we can get this little move pushing back to the upside. So depending who you speak to, they'll have different opinions that this market is either moving lower or it's pushing higher. We don't really mind. I suppose that's some of the benefits of trading derivatives and contracts for difference, is that we can buy and sell. We don't have to be attached to any particular bias. We can change that bias based on good opinion or good reasoning and objective opinions, not subjective. It's never about what we personally think. It's what we can support through technical analysis is what we'll be looking to trade. So the S&P 500, definitely potentially interested in buying this market above the 27.77, but that would just effectively reinforce the potential opportunities in some of these markets. So to just monitor the trade, we'd like a pullback. So if we get a pullback to that level, we might look to take it to the upside. If we're not too far away, we're only sort of 5 or 6 pips away from this level down here. So this is a little pullback. This is a breakout trade, potentially above the 112.76. We've got a really nice place for our stop loss now. So let's see if we get that break to the upside. Yeah, the euro yen is a little bit of a difficult one. Sort of in keeping with the dollar yen, really, what we might look to do is to track the high. And I guess track the low. We just don't know where this low is going to be. It's probably unlikely we're going to get a bounce back to the 129.75. You never know, but just a little bit unlikely for that to be the case. So wherever this low is and you get the turnaround and the explosive move higher, we do have the 130 level, which is a strong level of support. So let's see how this market interacts with that level. So there's the 130. I'll just change it to a different color. Just to indicate that it's a strong psychological level, the 130. So we're getting close to our opportunity in the euro. Okay, so we're getting close to that level now. I suppose for the euro yen and the dollar yen. Not too far away from the dollar yen trade as well. We can actually buy the euro. It sounds a bit counterintuitive, but we can actually buy the euro dollar, and also, so that would be selling the US dollar over the strength potentially in the euro. But we can also buy the dollar yen. It sounds a bit counterintuitive, but there's other drivers involved in the yen, and keeping a sort of a close eye on the US equities, we're likely to see a little bit of capital running out of the yen, and the dollar is kind of a beneficiary of that. So we've got the pullbacks now in the euro dollar. So it's what we can do is we can have a look at these on smaller time frames now, just see how price is interacting. Same situation for the euro yen. Now this would be a short-term European strength trade. It's not by any means of any real strong conviction in the European markets. It's an intraday trade. So we're not too close away from a breakout to the upside in dollar yen either. So of course when we look at breakouts, we're looking for the close above the level, the 112.76, and then to see the continuation. Okay, while we're looking for these markets to position themselves, just to let you know that we're going to be switching across to the live trade room now. So do have a look if you are new to joining us. We're currently offering traders the opportunity to join us for 14 days, completely free of charge, and you can access our education and all of our live trade rooms during that period. And we offer over 76 live trade rooms per calendar month. So hopefully whatever your time availability is, we can accommodate that, even if it's on a part-time basis. We trade daily time frames at 9 p.m. every evening, looking at daily charts, and it's really just a solid comprehensive education in trading these markets. And what's very important for us is that we keep sort of cost from your perspective to an absolute minimum. So if you decide to join us for 14 days and you want to come and secure a membership, it's just currently for $9.99 per month. So hopefully it's a bit of a no-brainer for you. And all that $9.99 does is just facilitates your access to, like I said, over 76 different live trade rooms per month. So hopefully you'll find it incredible value. So you're very welcome to join us. Do click on the link below in the description. And of course, give us a thumbs up if you can, and do subscribe to our channel. We're just seeing the euro just sell off even further to the downside, so we do want to see what's called probably a structural failure to the upside now, depending on how it interacts with this level. But we are at the level for us to get into this market to see if we can push to the upside. So we're getting the nice pullback that we were looking for in the euro dollar. The dollar yen still has the potential to just squeeze above that 112.76, and if so, we might look to take this to the upside. The US oil is getting very close to the 69.88, and we'll just monitor closely the S&P 500. So a few markets potentially setting up for us now this morning. We could be in these for the majority of the day, so do bear that in mind. So I do need to switch across to our traders at the live trade room. So thank you as always for joining us. Do feel free to, like I said, just give us a thumbs up or connect with our channel or subscribe. You'd be very welcome to join us. We are live Mondays to Thursdays, 8 AM and 1 PM. So do join us if you can. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and LinkedIn, the details are all there up on the screen for you as well if you'd like to connect with us through those channels. And thank you as always for joining us. So do take care, and from everyone here at the Live Trade Room, we look forward to seeing you soon. Do take care and we'll speak soon. Bye for now.